All right, so I've got some Dalbello boots that I just got last week, and they're really hurting my ankles. The inside of my ankle here. I need a little bit more width in the toe right in here, and so I'm gonna make up a jig, and I'll show you how that's done. But basically we're gonna put a plastic liner on the inside, pour some two-part polyurethane plastic in there, not too much. We're just gonna start filling it up probably to about here. Sorry, right about there. And that way it'll slide right out. And then we'll cut it in half. We'll add a little bit of material to it and put it back in. I'll show you how that's done.
Do I have to press the square first?
It's already recording.
All right.
All right. So I got some two-part polyurethane mix. It's gonna turn out white, but right now it's clear. You got a clear and a kind of a brownish one that you mix together, depending on how old the stuff is. This is pretty old stuff, a couple years old, but doesn't have to be super precise. I use it in some of my rubber molds to make other stuff. So it's a 50-50 mixture. And now I'm just going to pour this down into the boot. So it's got a trash can bag liner in it. Pour it all in. Great. And now I'm just going to roll that forward. So it doesn't look like I used quite enough, which is fine because this stuff binds to itself. So as soon as this one's solidified in about 10 minutes, I can pour another batch of it in there, and it'll stick it without even a line separating them most likely. So, okay, we can go ahead and
Okay, started.
all right. So I added the first batch, and then I added a second batch. So it looks like it takes about 1.5 of these to fill it up to, it's okay, Sam, back up. It's a red Solo cup for everybody who's wondering. So I filled it up to about here, I believe. Oh, no, right about here. So I'm gonna go ahead and back it out now. It's still a little bit soft, so hopefully nothing gets stuck. Looks like it's coming out just fine. And, all right, so there is my perfect mold of the inside of my boot.
Can I feel it?
Sure. Yeah.
Ooh, that's
All right.
warm.
Yep. So it is hold on, hon. So it's exothermic, so it does get warmer as it cures. You can speed the curing process by doing it in a warm spot. And otherwise, like I said, it takes about 10 minutes per batch, and you just hold your boot in the right position so that it fills that space. Of course, you do want to do it in stages like this. So now I can put this back in the bag, and then put another bag on top of that and fill that second bag. That way the two don't join back together. So I'll show you what it looks like after it comes out, but it's still just a little bit squishy, so I'll give it maybe a half hour or so to finish solidifying before I saw it in half. Alright, so I just pulled one out of the mold. I'm gonna clean it up a little. I'm gonna run it through the table saw lengthwise, so that I can add some material and still be able to get it in and out of the mold and expand it. But this is what it looks like when it first comes out of the bag, so that you don't expect yours to come out all clean. Okay, so I've just sectioned it. This is the piece that I'm going to add material to, so I left that as the biggest piece. I took a chunk out, and now I've got something that I can use to wedge in between, and it'll go in and out of the boot real easily. But in the meantime, I can assemble it all back together when I'm adding more material to the mold for my ankle, which I could have done before I sectioned it, but either way. Okay, so I'm working on my right boot, and here's the one for my left boot, and I've put the insert back in the boot and the bag in. I know that I need it to get up about 6 inches, the height of one of my measuring sticks, and so I've got 16 ounces over here ready to mix up, and I'll just do half and half and pour them together at the same time. Okay, so I didn't show the removal step. That's because the bag tore as I was trying to get it out, and I had to hurry and drill a big hole in it and screw in this big screw to be able to pull it out. So moral of the story is maybe put in a blocker, maybe some foam or something else in between this piece and this piece so that it lifts more straight out and your bag doesn't tear. So anyway, it's my first time. Okay, so here I traced my foot onto a piece of paper, and I've got the section of this that's going to that I'm going to use to stretch it to help me figure out where the position is. So don't forget that this is the whole shell with no liner, so minus the blade width. So it's about where it's at. So you can see that even if I had no liner in this boot at all, the shell really isn't where I want it. So I've outlined a line of about what the where the liner would occupy that space. That'll help me to position the mold. So I'm going to assume for the moment that that's about where my foot would be inside the shell. And now I've marked my trouble area right here. And so I'll build out a little bit of extra material right there. Okay, so I've got a piece of foam. I've got it cut out. I'm going to put this on there after I fill it with some plastic. I'm going to use some red dye so that you can see the difference between the original and what we're adding. It'll help me shape it without ruining it. Okay, so I've just taken it out of the mold, and so you can see where I've added it. I've got plenty of material there. Maybe I would like a little bit more right there, but let me shape it down and we'll see. Okay, so here's kind of what I came up with. Give me a little bit of extra width right there where it hurts the most. So when I went skiing 2 days in a row, it kind of felt like my foot was going to fall off. Or sorry, my little toe was going to fall off. So you can kind of see the shadow of where that's in the boot. So now I just have to heat it up and push it out. Okay, so I just finished heating it. You can see there's a little bit more prominent bulge right there. And so originally I just put it in by itself and pushed it over with my hand. But now as it's cooling, I went ahead and put the other part of the thing in and wedged some popsicle sticks in there, or stirring sticks I should say. And if it still doesn't have enough room, I can always cut some wedges to push in there again, and I'll expand it some more. But I figure I'd start off gentle and do it a little bit more later. Okay, so I put it on the liner back in and tried it on, and it feels really good in here, but I feel like I could expand it just a little bit more up here. So I'd had surgery on my little toe where they cut it off and put it back on, and because of some of the tendon adhesions, my little toe kind of pokes up and out. So I'll expand it a little bit more right here. And then I used the position of that to match up here so that I have an idea where I want the next one to go. So I'm going to work on the next one. Okay, so here's the final product, and all we used was these pieces here and a light bulb. The light bulb I used to do the inside ankle, so I was able to just visualize where that needed to be pushed out, and so I just did that with the light bulb instead of using this big piece. So that was nice. And so yeah, I get yourself a gallon of that polyester off of eBay, and an understanding wife to let you do it on the kitchen table, and you're set.